Hi, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about your posture, your stance, basically what you do with your body while you're shooting. And remember, if you haven't already watched my safety video, please do so. That's very important. That's the first thing you always have to consider before you handle, use, do anything with firearms or anything that's potentially dangerous like that. Okay, so very basic thing is to know what to do with your body, what to do, with your arms and things like that when you're shooting. And there are several different options, and I will go over a few of those and give you my opinion on which one I prefer and the reasons why, and reasons why I may not recommend some other ones. And usually, especially when it comes to rifle shooting, the first position they'll want you to learn is the bench position, where you're sitting down on a chair and there's actually a table in front of you, and you could rest it rest the rifle on the rest. But for the sake of pistol shooting, which is what this video is going to be about, I would not really recommend starting there. Even if you're a beginner, I do feel that standing up and having that full range of motion is still better than being seated in a chair. And basically, when it comes to your posture and your stance and how you place your feet, there used to be different options for either having them square to your target or having your strong side back. But actually, they've actually modified, what used to be called the Weaver stance, where you also have your feet staggered like that, where your strong side is back and then the other side is forward, and then you're shooting like this. They've actually modified that to also keeping your feet square, and the Weaver stance is just a difference of how you place your upper body. And I'm going to explain that in more detail in just a minute. And you still see a lot of people at the range, or you might see people in videos or in other places where they keep their feet one back behind the other. It's not necessarily wrong. It's something I don't prefer, but it's something that was more popular, I believe, before rather than now. Now the most common stance and position they'll teach you is called the isosceles stance, kind of like an isosceles triangle, where your 2 feet is, the 2 points of the triangle, and then your hand / firearm is the third point. And basically, that consists of, you keep your feet shoulder width apart, so it's a very natural position. Your feet are just kind of slightly angled out. Basically, if you were told to stand like this, the way that you would keep your feet, that's how you do it. And then from there, moving up from the feet, your knees are slightly bent. And I don't mean like you're doing squats. I see a lot of people doing these really extreme things too. I mean, if you're trying to do that to get behind cover or whatever, that's a different story. I'm just telling you like a basic posture. So I'm not talking about doing a squat. I just mean that you don't lock your knees, because when you lock your knees, you actually you have like less of an ability to absorb recoil, less flexibility, and also you cut off circulation. And you see a lot of people when they're staying, some people in the military staying in attention, and they lock their knees and then they pass out after a while, and that's the reason why. So just don't lock your knees, keep your knees free, just slight bend on it. And then up from there at the waist, you see a lot of people shooting like this. They're leaning all the way back, as if, I don't know, they're reclining in the air. But the main reason for that, I believe, is that they feel that they have the weight of the firearm in front of them, so they need to kind of balance out. Like they're afraid that it's going to drag them down, so they do this. And that's kind of, I guess, if you don't know any better, that's how you would naturally do it. But that's actually wrong. You definitely don't want to do that, because if you're already leaning back, and let's say you're shooting a heavier recoil firearm, it's just going to push you back even more. Now you're destabilized. So what you need to do from the hip actually is to bend forward slightly at the hip. You don't have to be reaching for the target so you can stab it with a bayonet or anything like that. But you know, just instead of leaning back, you're somewhere like basically you can either stay completely upright or lean forward a little bit, even better. You know, I see a lot of people just shoot upright, and that's actually okay too. Just whatever you do, don't lean back. That's the main thing. You know, so either upright or a slight bend forward at the waist. You keep your back straight though. You know, you don't want to be all hunched over too much. You do that too much, you start getting really bad posture. Yeah, so from there, lean forward, and then what you do with your arms, with that, and I'm actually going to show you with a firearm related to that. With the arms, I see a lot of people in real life and in movies and in other mediums doing this thing, you know, where they have their elbows really bent, and it looks cool and tactical and everything like that. But actually, I've tried all different ways of doing this, and for me, the best way is to actually push all the way out, because then your arms naturally want to straighten out the pistol. You're not actively trying to find what is good left or right. When you do this, it pretty much locks it in. You know, you have equal tension on both sides, so it keeps it centered. You know, so you want to do this instead of having it like that. You know, you push forward, even roll your shoulders forward a little bit, but you don't lock your elbows. Okay, that's the one thing too I want to point out. When I say extend your arms, I don't mean like to the point where your elbows are locked out. Now I can't really breathe that well doing this. You know, you want to extend it out, but at the same time, your elbows are free. Kind of the same thing what I'm telling you about your knees. You know, you don't want to lock anything. You want to have that, with your knees, the main thing about not keeping them locked too is that if you really need to move right away, you can. You lock your knees, you gotta kind of unlock them before you can move. You know, same thing with your arms. If you need to, you know, go from shooting to reloading, you know, or anything else, you know, you'd be easily able to do that. And plus, it's better for controlling recoil if you have that little bit of give in your arms. And let's go over the Weaver stance. The modern Weaver stance, basically, everything from the waist down is the same. No, well, from the shoulders down it's the same. Still bend forward or stay erect or bend forward a little bit. You still feet shoulder width apart, square to the target. I said that your feet are square to the target. The difference with the modern Weaver stance is instead of pushing both arms out straight, you're kind of angling your upper body to where your dominant side is back a little bit and your support side is front. So then you extend your dominant arm all the way out, but with your support arm you keep it bent. So you're kind of pulling with this and pushing with that. And I mean, I can understand where they're coming from with this. The push and pull does kind of give it a pretty secure feel. But what I don't like about that is that when your feet are square to the target, twisting your upper body, it just doesn't really feel natural. And I want to explain to you my theory on being natural, like the way you feel, like not natural, I guess more neutral, having a neutral stance, upper and lower body. And the reason why I don't prefer teaching people to shoot with their strong side back, even though in their mind they feel like that would help them with the recoil. The reason is because it's not neutral. If you ever, a lot of people want to start shooting just for recreation, but there are some people who are considering, you know, learning about guns and shooting for purpose of self-defense. And for that, if you're going to run into somebody with a gun or with a knife out in the street, you know, unexpected, it's not the same as being in a gun range shooting at a paper target that's not going to shoot back at you. Your adrenaline is going to be pumping, and hopefully you don't panic, because panicking is the worst thing you could do. But you know, that's also a possibility. But either way, your body will be stressed, your mind is going to be stressed. And when that happens, you're not going to stop and think, okay, I need to do this with my feet, I need to do this with my arms, I need to do this with my, you know, you're not really going to do all that stuff when that happens. A lot of it's going to boil down to muscle memory, you know, what feels normal for your body. So given that situation, if you run into somebody, you know, chances are you're not going to be in that perfect position where your right leg is going to be back and your left leg, or whichever side your dominant side, I'm just using mine, forward, and then, you know, you're going to adjust your body and make sure, you know, a lot of times that's not going to be the ideal situation. And I mean, and yeah, given you're not always going to be perfectly square with the target either, but, you know, a normal walking stride or think something like that, it's not going to be that extreme to where they used to teach how to shoot like that, you know. And more importantly, when you shoot with your feet squared, it just feels neutral. You're not really thinking about your feet because that's how you stand. You know, you're not like actively thinking where you need to put your feet. You're just standing facing the target. So it's neutral. So your mind is not really that focused on that part of your body. When you're stressed and you're working on muscle memory, and let's say you're not in that perfect posture where your feet is back, but that's how you always train, then all of a sudden your body is going to start to hesitate. You know, it's going to feel like something's wrong, I'm doing something wrong. You know, and just a moment of hesitation, a moment of, you know, being unsure of yourself and not feeling right about what you're doing, and your muscle memory is not really kicking in that well because all the conditions are not really being met, you know, that could turn out poorly for you in that situation. So just in my opinion, just based on that theory, you know, I feel like a more neutral, normal feeling position, such as just standing and facing forward, is the best way to train. You know, so even if you do need to be a little bit different because that's how you stopped when the person came up to you, or you can just quickly move your feet back up, you know, either way, it's going to feel normal, it's going to feel natural. Another reason why I don't prefer the whole shooting with your foot back thing is you always learn that when you're about to reholster your weapon, and yes, even in a self-defense situation, you might need to reholster your weapon. So let's say the shooting with the person that you know is the aggressor is done, and maybe you have a friend that's hurt or something else, you might need to tend to that. And sometimes you might need to use both hands. So you might have that situation, you might need to reholster your firearm. But before you do that, you want to look around and make sure that he was alone, that there's not somebody else waiting right there to strike at you when you're not paying attention. So and when you don't have your firearm out. So before you reholster, you know, you're always taught to look around, you know, scope the area, you know, assess the situation, see if it's safe for you to put your firearm away. From the isosceles position where your feet are square with the target, and you know your arms out evenly, it's, you know, doing this is easy, you know, to check your surroundings. You know, you just turn, you have a good view of basically all around you. You know, you have a good peripheral view of almost all directly behind you and of both sides. If you're shooting with your feet, with like the old Weaver stance where your feet is split and is one of them is further behind than the other, looking to your dominant side is super easy. You know, you could look, but what about the other side? You know, it's very limited. You know, you have a blind spot from here to there, you know, and that's not good. You know, so that's another reason why I definitely prefer the isosceles stance. And like I said, the modern Weaver has adjusted the feet to be square, but then you're twisting your upper body, which I feel like that's very unnatural too. You know, I don't want to have to do this every time I want to shoot. You know, it just kind of feels awkward. And plus, if I need to move suddenly, moving this way is okay, but to move that way, I'm falling backwards. You know, so that's the reason why, in terms of stance and position, isosceles is what I would teach you, and what I would recommend to use when you're training all the time. And training is the key. You just got to keep training to get the muscle memory that I speak of down. But basically that's all there is to the stance. I will be doing another video for stance for rifle shooting. I mean, it's very similar, but there's a few other little things to little details that would need to be worked out. But yeah, for pistol shooting, that's for the stance. And definitely keep checking back. I'll be or check my channel. I should have a lot of other videos that cover a lot of other fundamentals of shooting. I'll be working on pistol, rifle, and shotgun shooting. So if you don't see them now, just keep checking back. Subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified when more videos are uploaded. But thank you for watching, and remember to be prepared and be safe. Okay.